Okay, so if you can all put yourself in mute, Yuda as well, please. And I will share screen, share screen. Okay. Shoot, Tetzaveh. All right. So I suggest that we start this this shir. It's going to be 2 parts of the shir. And one part will be about the a theory I would like to introduce. It's a mahalach. It's actually not a true mahalach. So I'm sorry if I'm going to waste a bit of your time, but maybe at some point you will find in, at some point you might find it useful to actually, when we find a certain Gemara or a certain Ma'amar Chazal that you might remember, oh, I remember that this was said indeed in this shir about this concept. So I'm going to introduce something new, which is according to the Tetzaveh Ki Sisso. I will show you how it could be, how it fits very nice in Tetzaveh Ki Sisso, but there is nothing at all in the Tetzaveh Bal Peh. But still, I think it's kedai just to see that. So we all know that we have what we call on. I will share like that. We have on the right side you have kedusha, and then on the left side you have the opposite of kedusha. In the Torah, sometimes it's a chet, and we will see an example. Sometimes kedusha is the other side is a shikut. It's an ugliness, a shikut, something that is which makes you feel sick, which is not nice, things which are dirty, etc. And then the opposite of kedusha is tumah, and another one is of course chulin. So you go from chulin, you can go to kedusha. I will give some examples. From kedusha to chet, so we see, for example, kedoshim tiyu. And the top one, kedoshim tiyu, is where the Torah says, and Chazal tell us, kedoshim tiyu, that we should be very careful on not making averos. Also, he says, v'nigdashti, that you should not make averos, but you should make a kiddush Hashem. The mitzvah of kiddush Hashem is v'nigdashti b'tor b'nei Yisrael. So you see very clearly kedusha. In this case, the opposite of kedusha is a chet, is a sin. Then you have kedusha, which has the opposite as a shikutz, which means ugliness. We see this a lot in the Torah. It says v'skadishtem v'yisem kedoshim, when it says not to eat insects and crawly things. The Torah says v'skadishtem, that you should be kedusha. 1 second, I will mute. Yeah. So they have what we call kedusha and shikutz. So it's what is ugliness. It says, for example, Lois is going to do, meaning not to make scratches and not to pull your hair and becoming an ugly person. Kiyam kodesh. Torah does not want. It says also mikroe kodesh. It says by Yom Tov, mikroe kodesh. Chazal learned that we should wear nice clothes. We should go and wash ourselves to be clean. It also says Anshe Kodesh Timli, not to eat treifa. Treifa is an ugly thing. It's a low-level meat that isn't found in the fields, and so the Torah does not want us to eat. So kedusha is sometimes referred to a level of higher level, and which means cleanness and not being ugly and dirty. And then you have the kedusha, which is about tumah, which is the opposite of tumah. V'skadishtem, the same posuk, because it says also v'lo yitamo es nafshosechem. A person should not be metama himself, and therefore the Torah says v'skadishtem. It's followed straight away v'skadishtem. So the Torah says that one should be b'kedusha and not be b'tumah. It says also kedoshim yiyu by the kohanim in Vayikro. It says by the kohanim kedoshim yiyu. So there also the kedoshim yiyu, meaning that they should not be metama themselves to mesim. And then the Torah says kedoshim yiyu. So you see here that the kedusha is referred to the opposite of tumah. And then the last one is the normal kedusha that we know is when something is chulin and you make it kedusha. That means somebody gives the house away to the Beis Hamikdash. All the trumas and the Klal Yisrael will be magdish to the Kohanim, to Hashem. So this is where you take chulin and you make it kedusha. So you see here at least 4 different elements where the Kedusha is an opposite of something else. And what the second part of the Shir will go through all 4 of them. But the first part, we will just focus on the link between Kedusha and Tumah. So that the link, if there is a link. There is something very interesting in this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha speaks about the building of the Mizbeach, and it calls it Kodesh Kodoshim, and then it continues, Kol HaNogea BaMizbeach Yigdosh. And there is a bit of a difficulty in understanding what does it mean, Kol HaNogea BaMizbeach Yigdosh. It's normally, this is not the normal way of explaining it. The Chazal explain it in different ways, but I will not go into Chazal now. I will start to introduce something new, which I already spoke about it. I said it in at the time a few years ago in the name of Ibn Ezra. I'm retrieving myself. It's not what Ibn Ezra says. In any case, it doesn't say it in the Chumash. Maybe I saw it somewhere else in the Ibn Ezra in another Sforim. But in any case, if not, then I'm introducing you something new. As I said, this is not true. It is not being accepted by the Chazal. The Chazal never speak about that, but still Torah is Torah. We're allowed to suggest some ideas on how to read the Posuk, and then we can ask the question, why didn't Chazal learn like that? Okay, so there is also in Vayikro, in Parshas Tzav, there is something very similar expression, Kodesh Kedoshim by a mincha. A mincha is Kodesh Kedoshim, and then it says, Kol zoho b'bnei Aaron yochlenu, chok oilem d'orasech, misha Hashem, kol asher yiga bohem yigdosh. Exactly the same loshon, kol asher yiga bohem yigdosh by mincha. And it's also started off saying it is a Kodesh Kedoshim. By the Chatos, on the left side, you see as well by the Chatos, it says also, asher tishochet oilet tishochet achatos v'nei Hashem, Kodesh Kedoshim hi. And then the Torah continues, so here as well, it says exactly the same loshon. If you touch the kedusha, this chatos, yigdosh, it becomes kodesh. So the idea here is, Torah starts saying kodesh kedoshim, and then it says if you touch it, it becomes kedusha. Whatever it touched becomes kedusha. So it's the idea I want to introduce, which is not how Chazal see it. Chazal again say it in completely different, but we know how tumah is being transmitted. So we all know that when you have an avat tumah, that's why it's called an avat tumah. That means that he can create more tumah by touching, for example, by carrying or by moving it, by hesed. You can certain tumahs when you sit on it, by riding, by sitting and sleeping on it. You can create tumah underneath it by entering a room. If a metzora enters a room, or a mess is, or you go into a room, even if you don't touch a mess, but you're in oil mess, then you become tumah. So by entering in the room, you can become tumah, and by eating. By eating, we learned, Chazal learned, eating, this is an avelas of Torah, is when you eat without touching, like when you swallow it, and only beveis ablio it touches, then you become tumah. So this is the eating. So we see here different ways on how tumah is becoming bigger, how tumah is reproducing itself, is growing, is by the different ways that it can be. Now, my idea in introducing you here is that maybe, and this is a maybe, and it's not only a maybe, definitely not like that, but it's just a mahalach, that when the Torah calls it Kodesh Kedoshim, what is the first word Kodesh? That it is not a word, it's not just how do you call it, a substantive, but it is actually a verb, that it is Kodesh Kedoshim. It's like Av HaTumah. Kodesh, it means it's a verb, it is Mekadesh, Magdish if you want, Kedoshim. It creates more Kedoshim, more Kodshim, basically. So basically, the Kodesh Kedoshim, it creates more Kodshim. How? Everything that will touch it will become Kodesh. Similar that we have in Tumah. By Tumah, we see that when you touch Tumah, what has been touched by the Tumah becomes Tumah. Similarly, by kedusha, maybe also when you touch the kedusha, you also become actually kodesh, as you see here in the three places where it says in the Torah, kodesh kedoshim, kol asher yigach b'vsora yigdosh. So maybe also by kedusha do we see that when things are touching, we become kodesh, and I will want to show you now examples where we do find it back. Okay, for example, on the right side, it says what I just showed you. It says by the chatos. So on the right side is by the chatos. On the left side, it's by an nevela. On the left side, has nothing to do with kodshin. It's about the nevela. So when you touch a nevela, what does it say on the left side? That if the nevela touches a klietz or beget or oil or sak, kol kli asher yoseh melucha behem b'mayim yuva v'toma do'erev. So you should wash it in the water. What does it say on the right side? Kol asher yigach b'vsora yigdosh, v'asher yizeh midom ala beket, asher yizeh oleo techabez b'mokom kodesh. Also, you have to wash the cloth. And you have to clean it and wash it in water. So here you see again, you see how when when tumah touches a kli, you have to wash it. When kedusha touches a kli, you also have to wash it. And then we see that the kli cheres is actually on the left, that you have to break it. Similarly, you very clearly see something very interesting. It's exactly the same haluchas that you have on the tumah, you also have on the kedusha. Of course, the Chazal, they learn it as blias. Then one has nothing to do with the other. The left side is tumah that comes with a negia, and on the right side, it's because of the blias. But when you read the psukim, there is nothing mentioned about the blias at all, but it is very similar. It seems to be very similar. It's odd. It's very strange that by chance the Torah uses the same expressions with the same types of things that can become tumah. Another example, on the left side, this is tumas mes. So it says, so if you enter the oil, you are becoming tumah if there is a mess. And then on the right side, it says, you cannot eat anymore this chatos. Every chatos which blood has to go inside of the oil moed, you should not eat, and you have to burn it. That's all. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu asked, "Why didn't you eat?" Moshe Rabbeinu asked to Aaron, "Why didn't you eat?" So you see here when the blood of a certain chatos goes inside of the oil moed, it also becomes kedusha that you cannot even eat. So it becomes such a high kedusha that you're not even allowed to eat it and you have to burn it outside. So here again, you see something similar. By entering a place, it receives a special kedusha, like by entering a place of tumah, it receives a special kedusha. You see here the same way of how to nearly transmit a certain kind of kedusha. Another example, v'chol hanoise, to carry, minivlosam yechabes begodom. By a nevela, if you touch a nevela, your goof becomes tumah, but your begodim not. But when you are carrying a nevela, so by moving it, and then yechabes begodom, then not only you become tumah, but also your clothes become tumah. It's a chiddush in the Torah. And then on your right side, you see by this irla zozel, which is a kodshin, the nosor asoir olov eskola v'noisom. He says that the bala soir has to carry it, and what happens? V'ameshaleach es asoir la zozel yechabes begodom rochas es besura b'moyim v'achin yovo elam macham.
Il y a un chargeur ici pour j'aime un chargeur.
Yeah, I will mute everybody. So we see here something very interesting. We see here that the kedusha and the avatumah are actually having very similar behavior. By the avatumah, we know by entering, by eating, also eating by kedusha, we see that a person who is tumah is not allowed to eat kodshin. Why? Because eating kodshin would give him a certain kedusha while he's eating, and this conflicts with the fact that he is tumah. And touching, we saw the three psukim, and one of them in this week's parsha. And the carrying, we saw also by the one who carries the Sir Lazozel, he becomes Tumah. Not Tumah, the Torah never says he becomes Tumah, but he has to wash his clothes as well. So I see here something very interesting. I cannot explain it. Well, I can explain it. It makes a lot of sense to say that the same way as Tumah transmits its Tumah, so does Kedusha transmit its Kedusha. But unfortunately, or fortunately, Chazal did not see it that way. But the reason why I'm mentioning it is that there seems to be a very high correlation between those two. And maybe you will find the Medrash, a Gemara, or maybe kind of an early Braise in one of the Gemaras that might be referring to something which is what I just explained you now. So that maybe there were some Tanoim or very early Midrashim that are also holding like that. As already many times, Baruch Hashem, we were able to find back certain Gemaras or certain Shaklevetaris which were pointing to that direction. But it's just, I wanted just to mention it as an interesting phenomenon. So what did we see? So we saw that there are actually four elements on the left side which are the opposite of Kedusha. So I wanted to speak about those four because in next week's Parsha, there is a Tetzaveh Ki Sisso. I would like to speak about the Maaseh Egel and the problem why they burned the Rambam, and also they burned the Rambam Sforim, I mean, and the Kuzari, but also the Hasidim, how they look at the Rebbe as being God or not God. So about these elements I already spoke last year. I would like to continue on that one. I won't have the time to speak about this. Next week's Parsha, there is the element of washing hands. The Koyanim, before they did avoid it, they had to wash their hands and their feet. And this is in Tetzaveh Ki Sisso, so I'm going to speak now about it. So the idea behind that is that we see a lot of times in the Torah how washing hands is important and in different contexts. We seem to be, as I said in my text message, we seem to suffer from OCD in washing our hands continuously. Every time we do something, oh, you have to wash your hands. So basically, there is this element of washing hands. And I wanted to say that I found 4 different cases in the Torah where we do see about washing hands. The first one is the chet. So sometimes for a kapora, for a chet, sometimes we wash our hands where in the Egla Rufa. The Egla Rufa, the Zakenim have to wash their hands. So they have to wash their hands. It's washing their hands, what we call today, washing your hands in innocence, or when you wash your hands as if you know, you take away your responsibility, as today's expression in English. So washing hands is of a chet. There's also a washing the hands, which is really about taking away ugliness, dirt. And this is the posuk v'искadishtem v'isem kedoshim. So Chazal learn in Broches, Chazal say v'искadishtem elu mayim rishonim v'isem kedoshim elu mayim achronim. What are those washing before the meal and after the meal? These are to be mavir the zuhamo. Zuhamo is the dirt. So to take away the dirt, so it is really to take away something which is ugly, which makes you feel sick when you think about it. So eating with dirty hands would not be pleasant. And the Torah says that a person should be kedusha. Kedusha means to be above these ugliness. So everything that has to do with ugliness and is also the Torah says that a person has to wash his hands. And this is the mekor for netilas yadayim lifnei hamozayin and netilas yadayim achar hamozayin. And so this is a second part of the washing. The third union of washing is something which people don't know. It's a posuk which is a very big problem in Chazal, in our traditional views, because it says in the posuk by the Zov, v'chol ha'she'iga bo yazov, v'yodov lo yishotav b'hamoyim, v'chibes b'vodav, v'rochas b'hamoyim, v'tomado orev. So this v'yodov lo yishotav b'hamoyim is a problem, because there is no such a thing in Minat Torah where a person, by washing his hand, it becomes toher. There's no tahara with washing your hands. And so therefore, the posuk v'yodov lo yishotav b'hamoyim, Chazal says lav davka. So I don't know, maybe they learn limudim, I didn't have the time to check, but in any case, there isn't any tahara that a person has from washing his hands. And so this posuk, Chazal are saying that it cannot be taken. Literally, it means that he did not go to the mikveh. And Yodov is just symbolic for the body, but it creates a problem here. It creates a tension. Whoever learns it and falls on this posuk, you feels a bit of, hey, what's going on here? There is such a concept of washing your hands to become tohor, but Chazal are clearly saying that it cannot be. But what I wanted to say here, that we do find in the Torah Shevichsav an element of washing your hands for removing the tumah. And then there is a washing the hands that is only increasing kedusha from chulin. So from normal, even if your hands are clean, that the Torah says, so here also the union is before you go into the Beis Hamikdash to wash your hands, which is going from chulin to kedusha. So we see here something very interesting. We see here the element of how there are 4 reasons why the Torah washes our hands. The Torah tells us to wash our hands, either as a kapora, or it is to remove dirt, or it is to remove tumah, or it is to increase the kedusha of our daily lives. It's very interesting that the Rashbo was asked, why do we wash our hands negelvas in the morning? Why do we wash these 3 times? And the Rashbo has problems because it's not clear the makor for it. It's not mamish clear. There is a Gemara, but it's not clear why. And so he gives multiple reasons. And you will see that nearly all of the reasons are also mentioned here. So it seems that the reason we're not clear, and it is a mix of different reasons, that the reason why we continuously wash our hands, sometimes it's purely because of dirt, but the dirt does not mean that it's just a hygiene, but it means because we have to be b'kedusha, that we should not be with dirty hands. The Torah, the Rabbeinu Shalom, expects from an Am Zgula, from an Am Kodesh, from the Goy Kodesh, to have clean hands, because this is a level of kedusha. Is not only kedusha from an avera, but also to be clean, to be nicely dressed. Mikroi kodesh we see on Yom Tov. So we see the union of having a nice body and having a nice clothes and be clean is part of the kedusha as well. And so therefore the Torah says, and not to be beshikuts, when you eat with dirty hands, it makes you feel sick, or anyways, it's something which, if people look at it, will feel sick, will feel it's revolting, and therefore the Torah says feeling of revoltness is against the union of kedusha, and therefore the Rashbo brings down a lot of different sources of why we're washing our hands, possible sources for him, why we wash our hands in the morning, and some of them are indeed either to remove the dirt, some of them are Kabbalistic, and we will come to that. Some of them Kabbalistic in the sense that in the night, the Ruach Tumah is there. He speaks about the Shapso. Shapso is the shifter, is the shifter, Mishum shifter shesholetes balaylo. And then he also gives an example, Mishum Beria Chadosho, that he says that the Kaimilon, that the idea once we are in the morning, we are like a new person, and therefore we need an Atila like the Koyanim, that when before they made the avodah, they had to wash their hands. So the washing our hands is a lot of time learned from next week's parsha, from the washing that we do in the beginning. Now, how can we mix all these together? Why are we mixing and we are using, and we're saying multiple reasons? It is clear that the idea has much more meaning in the Kabbalistic approach. You have on the right side, you have Hashem Echod, Yud Kevovke Echod, and as we explained 2 weeks ago, that Lo Yeh Elohim Acherim Al Ponai. Al Ponai, we have only one God, therefore there is only one word which describes who we should be, that is Kedusha. But when it comes to the other side, when it comes to dirt, when it comes to ugliness, when it comes to Averas, when it comes to Tumah, when it comes to even Chulin, we see a lot of different words that are, and this is the Sitra Acher, this is the other side of Hashem, and this is the element of the Samach Men. And in that world, it's dirty, there is chaos, and there is ugliness, and there is chet, and there is also, of course, other things as well. But these are the four elements that are actually referring to the Sitra Achre, and the washing of the hands is actually a way to remove this ugliness and to get back to Kedusha. And I'm showing you here Zoya. This is from the Zoya, and he says that the idea of washing our hands after the meal is lahavor zuhamo bisha, to take away the bad zuhamo, that it is because it's like giving. It says when we are washing our hands, at the end it says midoro not lo ahu zuhama diyodayim b'mayim achroinim uvedo yisparesh minei v'lo mekatrege alei uvedo notil chulkei. It is as if he takes his part. So it's like giving a matuna. It's like when you wash your hands, you are actually giving a matuna to the Sitra Achre, and then he goes away. So when a person is dirty, or when a person is going to eat, or when a person has eaten already, when he has eaten, probably there is some basic instinct which are playing a role. Even the biggest tzaddikim, it's very difficult for them to eat without feeling suddenly a desire, animalistic desire of eating. So they let themselves go a little bit. And therefore, this is an avera, kind of, if you want. And therefore, the washing of the hands is kind of a kapora for this animalistic, this bad midah. And therefore, a person, when he washes his hand, it is as if he makes a korban for the Sitra Achre, and then he takes it and he goes away. And the idea of nitila, that he takes it away, or giving and then he takes it, is also something which we use in Chazal. For example, when we speak about Maaser Rishon, shenot lo trumoso, the word nitila is kind of lifting up and taking the truma or the korban, whatever it is, to Hashem. And so therefore, when we are using the word netilas yodayim, we're actually referring, maybe there's a whole problem. You can check, and even on Wikipedia, I think you can check on why do we use the word netilas yodayim. Some say because of the lifting of the hands, others do the other way around, that because we say netilas yodayim, so we should lift up our hands. Others use it because it's the natla is a kli, which is a Greek word for a kli with two handles. And so the idea is that they used to make netilas yodayim with a kli, so therefore they use it in netilas yodayim. But if you look at the Zoya, you see how many times you use the word netil many times. So it seems that netilas yodayim is as if we are noitel our hands from the dirt, as if we are lifting and giving netilas yodayim, we're giving away the dirt from our hands to the Sitra Achre, to the other side, which he lives from tumah, from shikutz, and from chet, and from chulin. So these are the elements. And washing the hands, we're giving it away so that he can go away and we can then be the kedusha. The moment that there is the tumah, kedusha cannot be. As I already explained to you, kedusha and tumah do not go together. And so therefore, when a person sleeps, he is actually, the neshama is up there in heaven. And so therefore, the Sitra Achre can be in your body. The moment you wake up, the Sitra Achre is still there. And in order for the neshama to fully go into your body, and then you need to wash your hands. And again, the washing of the hands is not just to take away the dirt, but it is like an netilas truma, so that you are kind of lifting your hands or lifting the dirt from your hands, and you're giving it as a matona to the Sitra Achre. It is not surprising that the pest and all these diseases were much. Jews suffered much less, because the Jews continuously, we wash our hands. And there are so many reasons now. There's another 9 reasons when a person should wash their hands. When you shave, when you cut your nails, when you touch a mess, after touch mishamito, when you are touching a kino, or when you touch your goof, even the places which are not open, people have to be careful when they touch their hands, their hairs, when they scratch their hairs, to wash their hands. It's very important. So these are all elements of washing the hands. And it's not innocent that the idea of a virus, that maybe the virus is actually part of the mazikim. There is a famous Gemara that we learned in the beginning of Maseches Brochos, when we learned Afayomi, those maybe remember, where Ravuna says, Omar, that Marabaye, Inu nefish minon v'kaimen alon ki kisle l'ugye. Omar Ravuna kol chad v'chad minon alfe mismole uruvto mimine. That there are thousands of mazikim around each person, thousands on the right side and 10,000 on the left side. In the Medrash Rabbe on Parshas Re'eh, Parsha Dalet, Posuk or Mishnah Dalet, it says that there is Ein Beis Roiva b'chaluloi shel oilom she'ein bo kamo aluf mazikim. There is not a little cube in the world where there are no thousands of mazikim. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it is for me very clear that we are living in this world where we know that around us there are billions of viruses and bacteria that are surrounding us, and which maybe is what the Chazal are referring, that there is no cube of air in the world where there are no thousands of mazikim, and therefore you need maluchim to protect us from it. So here also the idea of the washing the hands removes these mazikim. They remove the zuhamu, which is a sitra acher, and the zuhamu is actually what we know today as being full of germs. When a person touches some places which are humid and warm, where we know where they are full of germs that can develop. So therefore, before he eats, he should wash his hands. That's very, very clear today. All the doctors know that. And so we can say that the idea of these viruses and bacteria are actually coming from the world, the underworld of the Sitra Acher. And this is what the idea is. Once you wash your hands, you take it away from your hands, and therefore you're not going to be nizek from it. And so therefore, what it says, Ubedo, notil churkez, it says here in the Zohar, with this, he will take his, and then we can eat, relax, and we can also be happy after the meal as well. So just to go back in what we've seen today. So I've introduced something, a new element of Kodesh Kodoshim, Kodesh as a verb that makes Magdish the Kodoshim. That's why Kolanogea Yigdosh, we saw it in 3 different places. I wanted to introduce you also that by Kedusha, like here by Tumah, you have a transmission of Tumah by touching and on different kelim that you have different haluchas. The same haluchas are also said by Kedusha somehow. And also by oil, we see that going inside also lift up the Kedusha, and also carrying also sometimes it gives an extra Kedusha to the carrier, and he needs to wash himself and his clothes. And then we discussed the element of washing our hands, that we see 4 different cases in the Torah. About washing hands, particularly about the hands, is the one is the Egla Rufo, washing the hands from a chet. The other one is Viskadishevis and Kedoshim, washing the hands from dirt. And then we have another washing the hands from the Zov, which again, the Torah Shebal Peh does not look at it like that, but in any case, in the Posuk, it's clearly written. And then you have the element of Richitzas Yudayim Beraglayim from the Kohen, which makes a person from Chulin to Kedusha. And then we explained that the one Kedusha on the right and left, there is a multitude of negative elements, of dirt and of tumah and of sin. As we say, also guilt is also Neki Chapayim Uvar Levov, that it's also Neki Chapayim is also a sign of when a person is honest and is not guilty, is Neki Chapayim, when his hands are clean. So we see here the ugliness, the dirt of the hands is referred to in different words. And the Zohar says that the idea behind it is that from this, the Sitra Acher, he enjoys. And so by washing these hands, we are kind of giving it a matuna kind of to the Sitra Acher, so that he should be able to go away, which could be the reason why we are saying Netilas Yadayim as it is, a Netilas Truma from the Maasros. And then we saw the last part is that the washing of the hands indeed reduces maybe the viruses in a similar way as we explained that the viruses are the mazikim, that the mazikim that are the mazikim as the Medrash and the Gemara explains, that there are thousands of mazikim in a little cube of air, and which we know today as being viruses and bacteria. Any questions?
Yes, I had a few questions.
Okay.
Where exactly you said that this is not a mahalach with the tumah and kedusha? What part exactly is not the mahalach? Like
the touching. So there is no din that if you touch a kochim, if somebody meat, kosher stam chulin meat touches a chatos, then it becomes a chatos. Only if there are blias, there has to be blias. So the Chazal never learned that touching makes you kedusha. So there is no such a din in the halacha. So
what,
it is.
You mean to say like that if something touches the kedusha, only that, let's say I'll explain. Let's say the fat from the meat that goes in, only that part, not the actual piece.
No. So it's just because there is a bit of liquid that went over, and therefore only the part. If you can even cut probably the part that is that touched. You can make a cliff. I don't remember what it was called. So it's a din of blias. It's a pashut mechanical. They explain that din here as a purely mechanical din. That because the meat was cooked together or touched and there was a bit of chatos, then you have to eat everything in the same day, because otherwise it will become noisa, the part of the chatos and the other meat. Yeah, it's about blias, not about kedusha transferring from one meat to another.
But then the other things you did say, for example, the oil moed and
that is what I'm saying.
There seems to be a kedusha.
Yeah, seems to be a kedusha. Of course, you can say this is not it's not the same din, and maybe it has to do with something else. So I'm just you can explain it exer sakosu without endorsing Talmud Dekro. Maybe they have different. They know. I just found this similarities. And what I call when you have a mirroring, as they say, it's like when two things seems to be very nicely aligned with each other. And this mirroring, I found it fascinating, so I shared it with you. But but Chazal do not say that at all. That the kedusha can be transmitted by coming in or by touching. Or by carrying. The Torah just says dinim, and it's without, and Chazal do not use that as an explanation. It's just exer sakosu. It's me that have tried to give it a more holistic approach to kedusha. Okay, this was the first question. Hello?
Yeah, that was it. Thanks.
Okay. Any more questions? So I thank you all very, very much. And hopefully don't forget to wash your hands. Maybe be zoiche to the bias goal, and then we will be hopefully how do you call it, saved from all the mazikim. And it should be all b'metzulas yom. It should all be outside of this world. Have a
Ari, I was wondering, next week you're planning to also doing it at 7 o'clock because Mincha Marav gets later and later.
It's a problem. I don't know when to do it. I have to run now, actually. I don't know when to do it.